Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers. It's Kieran here and I've got my hands on the new Inov-8 TrailFly Ultra G300 Max. They are an ultra shoe, I think with Inov-8's highest stack of cushion that we've seen to date. They're 300 grams. They are made for ultra trail runs. They've got some clever new tech in them. I'm going to take them on what I like to do best, which is straight out the box, straight onto the trails to see how far I can go with them. I'm aiming to try and do like a 3-hour plus run test for you to bring them to life here. We'll try and see what we can find in terms of mixed terrain. Let's take them for a spin and see how we get on. So I'm about 3 miles in. I've just done my kind of approach road into the forest here in the New Forest, which is kind of all tarmac. I'm now just onto the hard packed trails. The first thing I've noticed is that these Inov-8's, they come with something called G-Fly foam. Now the foam, there's a bigger stack of it for a start, but it's softer. Inov-8 claims it's going to give you 25% more energy return. And actually for that kind of approach road bit, I've sort of noticed there's a big difference here between like the Inov-8 shoes that I've worn before and these shoes, in as much as they're softer. They're definitely softer underfoot. You can feel your foot kind of sinking a little into that kind of stack of midsole foam, which feels really nice. I did have a fear when I first took them out of the box that the lugs on these, they're 4mm lugs. There's 35 of them spread across the foot. They've got some grooves in them that are kind of in line with your metatarsals that are supposed to help your feet flex naturally. So one thing, I thought those lugs were going to be a little bit heavy for things like coming on the approach roads, and I wondered whether or not that would be a little bit too much in these shoes. You know, when you first take them out of the box, they do feel like there's quite a lot of shoe to them. But actually, first 2 miles in, they run like a dream on the road. So that's the first surprise. I'm now sort of on a bit more kind of hard packed trail. I'm going to try and find some softer, steeper stuff. It's not always easy here in the New Forest, but I've got plenty of miles to try and do it. So let's crack on and see what else we can discover about these shoes. So I'm an hour in, and I think these Trail Ultras have settled in that first hour. They're now starting to feel sort of really comfortable. I'm enjoying them. I've taken in some sort of softer ground. I'm now sort of deep in a bit of forest here. So I've hit a bit of soft mud, a bit of soft trails. And actually, so far so good. I'm enjoying this. These come up as a kind of what Inov-8 says is a 5 in the toe box. That's 1 to 5 scale, 5 being the widest. And they do feel like there's plenty of width in the toe box. So they sort of hold the foot in that kind of midfoot sort of upper area quite nicely. I've got true to size on at the moment, but they do feel maybe a little bit like they're a tad long. That might come into its own when you're sort of smashing down hills or steep mountains and you're, avoid your toes hitting the end of the toe box. But so far so good. I'm really enjoying running in these. I'm an hour in. It's early days, but from a shoe that's fresh out of the box, I've got no hot spots, I've got no rubbing, I've got no sort of irritation going on, and I've done quite a mix of terrain so far. So far so good. So 2 hours in, 20k's done, and I'm still enjoying these shoes after another hour. They seem to, I've run over quite a lot of rocky terrain, sort of small rocks and pebbles and stuff, but big enough. And these swallow those quite easily. On these paths that I'm running, there's quite a lot of sort of jutting little stones that are sort of stuck in the ground. And that midsole foam, that stack of midsole foam here, swallows those with ease. Actually, they're really nice. You don't feel those coming up through. The one thing I'll say, these are definitely the softest Inov-8 shoes I think I've ever run in. Even trying out those G270s a few months back that we did on the channel, these run much softer than those shoes for sure. There is a noticeable more amount of kind of protection and cushioning here going on in these shoes. They're almost, I'd say, sort of like the least Inov-8 shoes I've run in, and they are, Inov-8 are not going to thank me for saying this, but you can see there's an influence here of some of those other high stack shoes from people like Hoka going on, and I think these make them all round a generally more comfortable shoe to run long in, actually. You know, with some of the other Inov-8's that are a little bit firmer, you've got to be sort of on the money with your form. And over longer hours, perhaps there's not the protection for the feet that you might get from some of the higher stack foam shoes that you see from now, from likes of brands of Hoka. But these, yeah, so far, so good. I guess the other thing I should say here, I'm moving at a fairly slow sort of pace. I'm moving at 5 miles an hour, essentially. Sometimes I'm doing some of those miles a little bit quicker and sometimes a little bit slower. But that would be really, over 100k, that might be kind of my average pace, or over 100 miles, that would probably be my average pace for an hour. 5 miles an hour is sort of a target when I'm going long like that. So to give you an idea of how fast I do the ultras. And at that pace, these are almost like the perfect shoe, actually. I found them, you know, there's enough response, there's good sort of energy return in them. They feel sort of springier than some of the other Inov-8's that I've worn in the past. And yeah, on this first run, I'm enjoying that. And now I'm going to eat something. It's 2 hours. I think I'm going to have to cut this a bit short. I wanted to go for 4. I wanted to try and sort of get beyond the marathon distance, but I've realised what time it is. And frankly, I was too tired this morning to get up at 4 and go out in the night, which was my original plan. The body didn't allow that. And now I've got my 5-year-old boy at home. He's getting angry with me because he's waiting for me to go back and play Transformers. So also, I'm sorry guys, but I'm gonna have to cut this one a little shorter than I really wanted to, but yeah, I'll let you take it up with the 5-year-old if you've got any questions you want to ask about that. So that's 3 hours done, but 28 kilometers, so that's what, 17.5 miles or something. It'd be 18 by the time I get home. I'm just wandering the last stretch. As you can see behind me, I've just run probably the last sort of 2 miles back on tarmac again, and that's been a surprise with these shoes. They run so well on the tarmac that I thought that sort of heavy grip underneath the 4mm lugs was going to be a bit sort of too much traction and it wouldn't be great on the road, but actually that kind of that midsole foam, that squashy midsole foam, soft midsole foam, came into its own really. I picked up the clip a little bit down to sort of 4.5 minutes per kilometre, and that it worked really well on the road running. Actually, that's a big surprise for me. That's a good thing. So that adapt fit upper that we also saw in the Terraultra G270 is here as well. What you're getting, it's not as soft and maybe sort of comfy around the foot as maybe you might find on a Hoka or other shoes. It's a little bit more rigid. There's a bit more sort of plastic and stuff going on the outside. There's a bit more support, I guess, and protection generally for those feet. So it's not quite that sort of sock-like fit that you might get. Even I had in the On Cloud Ultra that I tested the other day. That's not quite the same here. That said, I have loved the step-in of these shoes. I've enjoyed them quite a lot over that sort of first run. You wouldn't normally get that picking up a pair of shoes straight out the box. I've enjoyed the kind of comfort fit of the uppers. There's nice room in these shoes generally, I think. Nice sort of toe wiggle room. I feel like they're easy to get on and off. All of those things are really important when you're going ultra. There's no problem loosening those laces, whipping these off, changing your socks. That is fine. And so yes, this hasn't been, you know, like an 8-hour 40-60 mile ultra test. I apologize for that, but for the 3 hours that I've done and the 17 miles that I've done in the conditions that I would maybe run an ultra, I found that they've worked really well. So I'm back. That's it, 3 hours in these shoes, and I have to say overall my summary is this: nice and wide in the toe box. There's lots of room there. Actually, this midsole foam, the Inov-8 says is 25% more responsive, giving you 25% more energy return. I think is one of their best midsole foams yet. It's graphene infused, so it's supposed to be more durable. So we'll find out over a longer period of time. But actually on the run, I would say this is sort of one of the most different Inov-8 shoes I've ever run in. It's definitely softer underfoot, which is something I think a lot of people maybe don't go to Inov-8's for, because they do tend to run a little bit firmer than other shoes. And I really enjoyed it. I don't think I necessarily felt that groove down the middle, which is, you can see it sort of flexes, and it's supposed to give your foot a little bit more flexibility, but then I wasn't really running anything particularly difficult and technical and tricky, so that will need more testing on steeper courses and harder courses. But overall, I really enjoyed these. I had no problems really over the 3 hours, straight out the box. A little bit maybe on the side here with the toes, with my little toe, but that's something I always suffer from. Pretty good lockdown fit. And I found that the most interesting thing is actually they ran really well between the tarmac and the trail. So as in a sort of a shoe that you will use to get to the trails as a kind of crossover shoe, I thought they did really well. So first run impressions of the Inov-8 here, I think they've been a fun thumbs up for me, and I'm looking forward to taking them out and running them again. So there you have it. That is my review of the Inov-8 TrailFly Ultra G300 Max. The Inov-8 TrailFly Ultra G300 Max. What a name that is. Anyway, that's my first run review. We will come back to this with a multi-tester review very soon. Nick and Mike have both got these, so look out for that on the channel. So don't forget to subscribe to get that. Hit like and ring the bell for this video. Leave us any comments, questions that you want, so things you want to know about this shoe in that full review. Let us know in the comments below, and we will endeavour to answer those as we go on through our tests. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.